Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 17 of Enigmatica 2 Expert. Last video we set up mana production, Botania mana, and now we have 6 mana pools full of it. You can see them sparkling away. Excellent. The other thing we did was get our Void Ore Miner up to tier 3, so it could produce this crystal here. This one, or is it tier 4 now? Tier 1 produces, yeah, so it's tier 3 produces this crystal. And we have almost 3 stacks of it. That's enough to upgrade the thing to tier 4. And our Void Resource Container, or Void Resource Miner, has gotten, what is this, like 8-ish stacks of mica? That's probably enough to finish a game with, but I'm just going to leave it here running until we fill this modular storage. So to start things off, let's bump our Void Ore Miner up to tier 4. Tear it down, build it up again. I'm going to build it using all speed modifiers, and then I will not be terribly surprised if we can't generate enough power to actually power it with all speed modifiers. So I'll pull some of the speed modifiers. I just put probably blanks in, or we can just let it run at suboptimal power. I don't know. Neither is the end of the world. But yeah, that's a lot of power. That's a lot more power than we generate. We produce about 200, or we produce about, since our reactor is currently offline, we just get the, what is this, 80,000? Yeah, 80,000 to take out of that. So I'm going to pull a bunch of these speed modifiers, try to get this down to 80,000 RF a tick. It's not an exact science, but that's a bit less than 80,000 a tick. Produces one piece of ore every second and a half, give or take. And a lot of it are these crystals. So let's complete. Add those here and let it keep mining. I don't think it generates any new ores besides this, so there we go. Let's leave this running, and it actually doesn't take it a long time to generate enough to get us to the next tier, tier 5. However, tier 5 uses nether stars, so we're gonna not go there yet. First thing I want to do is, I think, generate enough power to run this thing with full upgrades, and later to run the tier 5 with full upgrades, which is going to take probably million plus RF a tick. To do that, let's make the mechanism fusion reactor. First, we have to actually build the frame of the reactor. So I assume based on the lag that means this formed. Incomplete. No, it did not. Let me figure out what exactly I'm missing here. I think I need these corner blocks. There we go. Now it formed. So the key features are one laser focus matrix. This is how you start it up. One controller. That's, well, how you control it. And a number of access ports, or just regular ports. This is how you put energy, take energy out and put fuel in. So I suppose at a minimum, well, because there are Ender IO conduits, you could get away with as few as 3 or as few as 1 because they can share a block space. But if you want to do, the mechanism way, you need 3. 2 for fluid in, 1 for energy out. All right, next step, let's make the fuel. So it burns deuterium and tritium, and we need a little bit of DT fuel to start it up. So let's look at what it takes to collect that. Deuterium comes from the electrolysis of heavy water, so we can pump mechanism heavy water with mechanism pumps. We can electrolyze it either in the nuclear craft electrolyzer, or which has the upside of producing a little bit of nuclear craft tritium, but I think I'd rather just not get this byproduct, and we'll electrolyze it in the mechanism electrolyzer, and that gets us deuterium. Tritium comes from solar neutron activation of lithium, which comes from the a couple of those evaporation towers. I think we could make it from lithium dust, but I don't think we produce enough of that, so it's easier to get it from thermal evaporation of brine to the thermal evaporation of water. Basically, it's free. So water becomes brine, becomes lithium, becomes tritium. Let's start with the tritium because that takes up a lot more space. This, I built 2 huge thermal evaporation towers. These are max-size towers, and they very quickly convert water into brine, and then subsequently brine into liquid lithium. However, we run into a problem here, and that is that we're actually not producing water fast enough. Well, for now we are, But remember, for every millibucket per tick of brine we are producing, we need 10 millibuckets per tick of water input. And I have the maximum tier water source here. This water source produces a lot, but not quite enough. Let's take a look. Water source. Here we go. Yeah, over a bucket of tick. However, this thing consumes, at maximum, it produces a bucket per tick of output, which means it needs 10 buckets per tick of input. So the only water source I know of that can produce that is the sink. What is this? Oh, that's just telling me what it does. All right, so we can take our infinite water source, turn it into a sink with some other stuff. The only thing tricky in here is this theoretically infinite water source requires a little bit of mystical agriculture, but this is a tier 1 seed, so we can just craft it. So yeah, these prosperity shards came from quarrying the other planets, so let's make it, and then we'll grow it just a little bit to make a couple of, well, I guess one sink. I'm not going to bother automating a farm quite yet for these seeds because it's really not worth it until you have a very fast farm, and without agricraft in the pack, it's non-trivial to make an insanely fast farm. So we're going to hold off on that for a bit. For now, I'll just watering can it, let them grow, and I need 4 pieces. I think we only get 1 per harvest. Yeah. Plants are a lot worse without agricraft, or perhaps balanced. The sink is basically a creative water source, like a creative fluid tank, but that can only hold water. It also does not push, so we need something that can extract water extremely quickly, and the best option for that are fluid laser relays. If you set them on only out mode, they extract at an infinite rate, or at a near enough infinite rate. So now this thing stays stocked with water. Apparently it can produce more than 1 bucket per tick. It might be 10 buckets per tick is the maximum production rate. I don't know. We're going to let this thing heat up. We can heat it up faster by just dumping more RF into it. So let's dump 5,000 RF a tick into it until we reach max heat. Once you're heated up, it doesn't take a lot of energy to maintain the, like to keep it at the maximum temperature, but I don't actually know what the maximum is. If it's 10,000 millibuckets a tick here, it'll be 1,000 millibuckets a tick of lithium. That's a lot of lithium. By the way, this bar, you can't control this bar. It has no limits. It looks like our limit is going to end up at 10,000 millibuckets per tick because that is the size of the output buffer. It's, you know, even if we're emptying the output buffer every tick, which we are. Oh, come on, did that? No, okay. Bombcraft flux effects. Don't mind that. But yeah, even if we empty out the output buffer every tick, which we are doing, we can't possibly produce more than 10,000 a tick. Which is a shame because we're only at like 1/3 up the temperature bar. So I suppose if we could theoretically fill the temperature bar, we could make more than this. But anyways, now that it's up to temperature, I don't need to pump as much RF a tick into here anymore. In fact, if I just bring that down to 500, it's almost assuredly enough to maintain heat. I don't actually know how to, like, this gives me a unit of energy dissipated per tick, but I don't know how to convert this into how much energy per tick I need to pump into it to maintain that temperature. Because, like, how do we convert RF per tick into millikelvin per tick dissipated? I don't know. This number is going... Did that go down? Whatever. I'm not going to stress the details. 10,000 millibuckets per tick produces 1,000 millibuckets per tick of lithium, which lithium is 1-to-1 with tritium, so there's no way we are going to burn 1,000 millibuckets per tick of lithium. This is way more than I need. For now, I'm also just voiding it all, because if the thing backstuffs, it stops the entire process. Alright, so next thing we need to do is take this lithium and solar neutron activate it into tritium. For that, we need, well, the solar neutron activator, which is the one thing that uses HDP sheets. So we already have this process like halfway done. We're making substrate. All we have to do is take the substrate, react it with oxygen and some liquid ethylene to turn it into HDP pellets, and then we can turn these into sheets, and then that into the solar neutron activator. Just piggyback off of the substrate we're already making, turn some of it into HDPE. I get to piggyback like this because of conduits. Like I have so many things running in the same block space, right? If I had to do all this with mechanism cables, this build would be like 5 times as large. But anyways, I'm not even going to bother using the efficient HDPE recipe because this stuff is like, whoopsies. This stuff is free. So, there we go. We have HDPE sheets, and now we can start solar activating our lithium. This setup here is entirely without a doubt over the top. However, we're going to have other uses for lithium down the line, so I don't know. Future proofing, that's what I call it. Anyways, 1 bucket per tick of lithium comes out of here. That goes into 4 rotary condensers because that's as much, well, it takes 4 rotary condensers to condense 1 bucket per tick. Each one can only do 256 millibuckets per tick to turn them into the gaseous form. And then 4 neutron activators for the same reason. Each one can only do 256 millibuckets per tick. And then that goes into a series of gas tanks. I choose to use 4 tanks as my tritium storage because these solar neutron activators only work during the day and they only work when it's not storming. So if we end up in a situation where we have, you know, a couple bad brainstorm timings, I don't want our tritium supply to run dry because that's what's feeding the reactor, right? If it runs dry for well, at all, the reactor will shut down and we have to manually start it back up. That's kind of a pain. So I'm hoping that 4 ultimate gas tanks is enough storage. If not, it's easy enough to add more. Anyways, we'll go from here and pipe this all into the reactor. So this is 1/2 of the reactor's fuel input. It takes a lot of water pumps to make a meaningful amount of heavy water, so I put it down here in our basement. Our base is up there. But anyways, each pump has max upgrades, so that's a filter upgrade so it actually pumps heavy water, and then max energy and speed upgrades, so it uses, I think it's 200? Yeah, 200 RF a tick. There's, I think, 42 pumps here, so it's a little over 8,000 RF a tick just on the pumping. And our pumps in total, I don't know exactly how much water per tick. It looks like every second it might produce about 100 millibuckets. So that's like 5 millibuckets per tick per pump. So about 200 millibuckets per tick total between all of them. That's an estimate. Anyways, I'm choosing to use these mechanical pipes as well because they have a significant internal buffer. Basically saves me the trouble of having to make a tank. So, this pumps our heavy water. I'm going to use probably an ender tank to transport it up here where we can then electrolyze it and then put pump the deuterium into the reactor. A single electrolytic separator is all it'll take to make our deuterium, and I don't have to worry about buffers and anything or any of that because, well, the electrolytic separator and the pumps are, you know, they work through the night, they work through rainstorms and all that. So anyways, all this stuff eventually gets piped into the reactor. The reactor now has in it deuterium and tritium. Next up, I want to start priming the laser that starts it up. So we have to shoot about 800 million RF laser pulse into the laser focus matrix to start it up. And that takes some time to build up. So to do that, we need the laser amplifiers and a number of lasers. The laser amplifier lets you like hold back the laser pulse and build it up in size, and then each laser pumps, you know, a certain amount of RF per tick into the amplifier. As always, exercise caution when using lasers, wear proper eye protection, and never look directly at the laser beam. Also don't stand in it because it will set you on fire. And it hurts a fair bit. Jeez, that hurts a lot. Anyways, the laser amplifier here is set to only run with the redstone signal. So I have a lever on it, and only shoot pulses of 800 million RF. So it needs to charge up to 800 million RF, and then when I flip the switch, it'll shoot that into the energy focus matrix, which will start up the reactor if it has the starter fuel in it. The starter fuel comes in the form of I'm not going to try to pronounce that, filled with DT fuel. So I intentionally left some space here to put a chemical infuser, and then if we fill the chemical infuser with this and that, it should make DT fuel if I plug it in. make sure you don't directly supply your reactor with this, because the reactor does not burn this very efficiently. It will instantly consume all the DT fuel in the reactor for like a single burst of heat, and then it'll shut down because there's no fuel left in the reactor. So you want to supply the reactor with deuterium and tritium individually, but you do need to make a tiny bit of DT fuel to start it up. I believe this is also used in like the creatives, but that's so far ahead of us right now that I'm not worried about it. Anyways, put one of these in here. The rest I'll store just as a this is backups. They're single use, so if your reactor ever shuts down, you need to, put a new one in there to start it back up. All right, so we'll want to set our reactor to have an injection rate. We'll start off at 2. Basically, that means 1 millibucket per tick of deuterium and tritium. That'll cause the reactor to produce... Somewhere tells me this. Here we go, 15,000 RF a tick. Not a lot. But we can eventually bump this value all the way up to, I think, 99 is the limit. I guess 98. At which point it will produce... Click the wrong button. 753,000 RF. Wait, no, this one. So just under 3 million RF a tick. That's not half bad. And we actually produce enough fuel that if I wanted to, I could run like, I don't know, 7, 8 of these reactors, but 3 million RF a tick is going to be sufficient for the time being. Anyways, this thing's only up to 250 million RF, so we're gonna have to wait for it to finish charging before we can start up. As we wait then, let's take a look at this Ionite supply. I think this is enough for us to go to the tier 6, is it? Or tier 5 void ore miner, which requires tier 5 structure frames. However, that also takes nether stars. So let's look into producing nether stars now. I'm going to turn our skeleton farm here on for just 1 second. Come on, give me the box back. Because I need a single wither skeleton skull. So come at me, wither skeletons. A single skull is enough for now because I can just scan it and then we can print them. They're 50 millibuckets each, which I don't know is, I mean, we get 50 millibuckets, we get 20 per bucket of UU matter. We have 400 buckets of UU matter, so they're not cheap, but it's a price I'm willing to pay to not have to set up a wither skeleton farm, because eventually we're gonna make our nether stars with mystical agriculture. So yeah, set you to wither skeleton and start printing. Then we just need a way to automatically kill the withers. For that, I'll probably do the RF Tools shield to contain it, and then the grinder to kill it, because this grinder can kill or crusher can kill withers. I'll build withers with the wither builder. Who'd have thought, right? This just takes the blocks, and the good thing is that it builds a wither with a 1 block air gap above it, so that lets us put the wither inside the shield while keeping the wither builder safely shielded outside the shield. And then again, Mob Crusher kills it. So let's turn this on briefly. Good luck. All right. This setup has a couple safety features missing, let's call it. I have no way to detect. Oh, hold on. Did I might have done something really bad. I forgot to set the wall. Oh no. Oh no. Hold on, I have to fix this. Alright, the fact that the chunks were claimed kind of saves me here. Because, yeah, there's relative... They only get to do body collision damage. So we'll still have to do some repairs, but I think the scope of the repairs will be limited by the fact that most of my chunks were claimed. Well, all of my chunks were claimed, so they don't do any explosion damage. That was almost extremely, extremely bad. Oh boy, that was... dodged a bullet here. Also, the damage was rather limited. I think they nicked some of the wall here. I don't even think they got any storage drawers, which is a little fortunate. They killed the bee stuff, I don't care. They got some of my magical wood, and that's like the extent of the damage. The problem was that I forgot to actually set the shield to be solid to hostile mobs, so they just kind of left. I let them leave, so they left. I also I was overconfident, and I didn't test it small scale with a single wither first. I just went for it, summon 21 withers. What could go wrong? Yeah, oh look, nether stars. I'm gonna be finding nether scars. Oh look, nether stars. Scattered throughout my base for the next, hey look, a creeper. Yeah, I'm gonna find these scattered throughout my base for the next couple minutes, I think. But, that was close. Aha, they didn't even damage my enchantment table enough to bring my max enchant below 30, so I don't even have to fix it. Alright, anyways, you saw, we set our shield to actually be solid for hostiles. When you make that change, you have to toggle the shield off once to make sure that it actually takes the settings. And now, let's try this again. This time, hopefully with less less wither leaking, and maybe we do one at a time. Jimmy, you ever consider that? Let's make sure this wither actually dies to the mob crusher before we summon 21 of them. There we go, and the drops get picked up in here. Cool. So I'm gonna store these drops into a drawer system right here, and summon the rest of the withers. All's well that ends well. But anyways, as I mentioned, there's still a safety system left missing, because if we drain our power cell, it's conceivable that our crusher and shield projector stop receiving energy, which will cause them to let the withers free again. So I'm not going to fully automate this. I'm only going to every now and then come here, grab however many wither skeleton skulls have been printed, and then throw them in here to spawn, 7 more withers. Anyways, during the time we were doing that, I really wish it wouldn't put the word wither on my screen 30,000 times, but I suspect this has charged up. Yep, it's over 800 million RF, so if I flip the switch, it shoots a laser beam, and that should start you up. So, in fact, let's just look at it. Yeah, when it's doing the thing, it's producing energy. I didn't mean to start it at max fuel injection rate, but it seems to be running stable. So, we are producing enough fuel to keep this thing formed. Right, yeah, we have enough tritium and enough deuterium in the massive tritium bank. So, now our thing is producing RF, 1.2 million RF, and as it comes up to heat, we can, this will start producing even more. Now, if we want even more RF out of this thing, I keep hitting that button thinking it does something. If we want more than the 3 million RF, we can set this into water-cooled mode, in which case it produces 1.1 million millibuckets of steam per tick, and then run that through a turbine. Honestly, if we need more than 3 million RF per tick and we're not at the creative age yet, something very weird is happening. So, I'm just not going to consider that a possibility. Alright, so what I can do now is we don't need these lasers. Well, I'm going to let the lasers charge enough such that we hold at least one backup pulse in this laser amplifier. That'll allow us to restart the reactor if it ever shuts down. Now we have to extract the energy somehow, and we have to extract a lot of energy. These cryo-stabilized flux ducts are probably the easiest way to transfer an infinite amount of RF. And they require gelid cryolithium to make. So I'm going to start by summoning a BLIZZ. That's done by taking a barrel, filling it with lava, throwing a freezing doll in. Okay, not a freezing doll into it. How do I use these? Oh, a barrel of pyrotheum, not lava. Alright, barrel of pyrotheum, throw the doll in, wait for it to finish counting, and then I'm going to actually kill this one and get, hopefully, one BLIZZ Rod as a drop. There we go, 2. Actually, yeah, getting 2 is a good idea. And then summon a few more withers. I'm going to try something here. The BLIZZ Rod in a sag mill gives 4 BLIZZ powder, but it is modified by the grinding ball. Then we can take that and compact it, and 5 BLIZZ powder becomes a BLIZZ Rod. And as long as we average more than 5 powder per operation here, I think we should be net positive. So let's give it a shot. Yeah, those two made 15, which cycle through here. We're going to have to store the snowballs in a drawer. It seems to be working great. Our BLIZZ rods are being turned into BLIZZ powder, gets compacted, turns into BLIZZ rods. The only catch is that this actually goes through grinding balls much faster than I expected, and this process doesn't work when there aren't grinding balls. So we just have to detect when we run out of grinding balls and then stop the sag mill. A comparator measures whether or not the chest is empty. I guess we don't need a not the signal, but I dotted the signal anyways, and then send it back around into the sag mill, which is configured to only run without a signal. So when it receives a redstone signal from the chest being empty, it stops running, and if we put stuff in the chest again, it starts running again. Cool. So this produces effectively a infinite supply of BLIZZ rods and BLIZZ powder, as long as I give it grinding balls of sufficient quality. It needs to be high enough primary product, main output, that we get our 4, the 4 becomes at least over 5, right? So 125% means we don't go anywhere. We produce free snowballs. So I guess any grinding ball with over 125% main output will get the job done. But I think the highest is Vibrant at 175. That should allow us to make cryo-stabilized flux ducts. Apparently I haven't taught how to pulverize obsidian. Well, let's just make a smaller amount. Yeah, cool. I'll put the pulverized obsidian recipe in, and then we'll start using all our energy. Need another advanced power cell, and I'm going to infuse it with maximum dimensional shards so that it can output, IO more energy. We'll use this as our primary way of energy transportation. So a fully infused power cell can transport... Wait. How'd I end up with... Oh, I must have made 2. Hold on. No, I definitely didn't infuse 2 of them. Or did I accidentally dupe a power cell? Alright, well, one of those is duped, so we're gonna throw it away. That was a weird dupe. Anyways, we're going to use this power cell as our main energy input. So it takes 1.5 million aside. So if we input energy on 2 sides of it, we can transport all 3 million RF a tick. With this power cell jamming 3 million RF a tick into our power cell network, I can switch this one from an input cell to an output one, and now this power cell can take all that energy out and supply it to our conduit network. Now, each conduit connection is only not that much, 125,000. So even if I connect all 6 sides of it, in fact, this may as well be a normal power cell, but even if I connect all 6 sides to it, I'm only extracting not a lot of energy per tick, I guess. How much is it? 6 times 125, 600, 750,000 RF a tick. But if effectively, that sends 750,000 RF a tick into our matter fabricator. Cool. So with that, I think our power woes are taken care of. More, however much energy this thing wants, it can get, so we can swap out all of its modifiers for the speed modifiers. But I think we're actually ready to upgrade it to tier 5. So let's tear it down and upgrade it to a tier 5 void ore miner with all speed upgrades, and just see how much energy it eats up. No longer have to regulate our mass fabricator or matter fabricator based on the power anymore, because we can happily jam into it as much energy as we can extract out of our power cell and convert into EU. So I just took this piece of redstone out. I put it back here in case I need it later, but we produce, I don't know, a couple millibuckets, maybe 1 millibucket a tick of UU matter now, give or take. It's a lot of UU matter. The tier 5 void ore miner looks like by default it takes 20,000 RF a tick and 40 ticks per operation, but I believe with full speed upgrades that goes down to 4 ticks per operation. I'm kind of curious what the power is. Ooh, that's a lot of power. 1.12 million or 1.22 million RF a tick. Alright, so this thing only outputs 1 million aside. So I guess we're going to need the cryo-stabilized flux ducts again. There we go. So now this thing is receiving enough energy to run at full speed. That's a lot of energy, but that also produces a whole lot of ores. Looks like we get some new ores too. Prosperity ore. I'm looking for the new crystal to come up. Because of how fast this thing is too, I'm just opting to run a clear lens as opposed to any of the colored lenses. Because hey, I want a little bit of everything for now. Somehow, some way, between the void ore miner and the all the energy I'm pumping into my mass fabricator, we're actually using 2.3-ish million RF a tick, right? That's the difference between how much energy is in the power cell and its maximum amount. I mean, we're managing to use over 2/3 of the output of our fusion reactor. I'm somewhat impressed. But this now produces tons of resources. Remember, we initially built this for uranium ore, so we could run our reactor. I think we're now at the point where it's time to set up ore processing for all of these things, so that we could start running the reactor and get back into that draconic evolution thing we were thinking about like 4 episodes ago. But I think that'll have to be for next episode. For now, we are out of time, so let's wrap things up today by doing our usual quest turn in and reward opening. I'm gonna probably edit most of this out unless we get anything of particular value. Total of like 12 chests. Hey, look, an elytra. But that's all of particular note. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.